Hey there, hi there, ho there. Slate Storm Tracking Team Meteorologist Ryan Hoke here. We are coming on at a weird time today, and the reason for that is we do not have a 6 o'clock newscast, so I figured I'd get you kind of oriented with what's going on a little bit earlier this evening to get out ahead of that, just to let you folks know, and of course, to give you an update on the more pressing issues of the day here when it comes to our rain chances overnight tonight, a warm up next week, and a couple of storm systems late next week that could be consequential for us. If you missed it, Brian Good's winter forecast discussion was earlier today. You can check our Facebook page or, of course go to wave3.com and go to the weather blog section to see that. It was very interesting. He talked about how La Nina is going to definitely influence our winter weather around here. And 2 months to watch would be December and, of course, February around here. We'll see how that goes with the snow and, of course, any sort of storm chances we tend to get around here in the winter time, because winter is not just snow around here. Sometimes it's more active stormy weather too. I want to say hello to a few folks who are on here this evening. Braden's on here saying hello to me and Wavy. Hello, Braden, our good friend there. ZK Hodge is on here this evening, and Crispy Brisket, our favorite username on YouTube, also on here. Shonda, our good friend from Jeffersonville. Hello, Shonda. Good to see you. And who else do we got on here this evening? A few folks. Again, we're coming on at a weird time. The app notification just went through, so a few folks are still joining us here this evening so that we can kind of go over what we're going to be seeing over the next several days. Plus, by the way, daylight saving time ends tonight. Can you believe that? That's right. That means that we are going to be seeing our clocks go back an hour around 2 o'clock in the morning. Make sure you dial your clocks back at home 1 hour before you go to bed tonight. I know this is like the biggest chore ever because we have like car and appliance clocks that are so hard to change. You need to read the manual sometimes, but this is life in 2025 still. We've got a lot of appliances that don't do it on its own. Even my coffee maker does it on its own, which is kind of cool. But, you know, things like our phones and computers are great, but, you know, we live day to day with things that aren't so smart, like old alarm clocks and things like that here. And yes, we still do daylight saving time, by the way. I know that there's been legislation in the past about getting rid of it, and none of that has passed and become law. So daylight saving time, still the law of the land here, and that ends tonight. We've got Clayton on the line here. Hello, Clayton. Good to see you. David McCormick. Hello, or McClintock, I should say. I can't read the small font here sometimes. And then we've got Blue on YouTube. Hello, Blue. Good to see you. And Crispy Brisket says, I finally changed my car's clock last month. We'll see how long it takes for me to do it again. Yes, I totally feel that. You just start mentally correcting for daylight saving time or lack thereof in your head when the appliance is just a little too tough to change. All right, so the clouds are out now. We saw a bit of sunshine earlier today. That has come to an end with this line of showers that's now approaching from the west. Notice how some of this looks like it's kind of fading as it approaches. The reason for that is because we have dry air out ahead of this, and as the atmosphere moistens up, we will see those showers eventually make it here and reach the ground. I can actually turn on our MPing reports to see if anybody's reporting rain around here locally, and it doesn't appear so at this time. Our MPing reports line, though, is right there. So even if there's some reports over here near Evansville, we wouldn't see those. I do that to keep the system from barking at me and overloading with data. But you'll notice that we've got that rain moving in from the west all across western Kentucky and southwest Indiana. None of this is terribly heavy. None of it's really thunderstorms either. It's just plain old rain with this front moving through and another area of low pressure developing along it near Memphis, Tennessee at this hour. Don't really expect a whole lot more than maybe a half inch in southern Kentucky and a couple tenths of an inch of rain here in Louisville, and even less in southern Indiana. This is not going to be a very big deal for us here. Let's go through the next 12 hours. You'll see that 60% rain chance starting around 8 o'clock this evening, and eventually we'll fade that down after tomorrow morning's Sunday service time frame here. You're seeing it around midnight here, pretty decent dose of showers. Again, the heaviest stuff's going to be in southern Kentucky. We'll continue pushing that through our area through about 5 a.m. After 5 a.m., it fades to just a few patches of drizzle, so the Sunday brunch and Sunday service time frame will start to dry out, but it will still be cloudy and a bit drizzly. Just keep that in mind. Rain jacket, umbrella, not a bad idea, especially if you have to walk through a parking lot to get to where you're going there. By the afternoon, we start to scatter out the clouds, maybe an isolated pop-up shower in southern Kentucky, but for the most part, this is just going to be working on getting more sunshine in here before sunset late Sunday evening. So if you're heading to the Racing Louisville FC match, you could probably go there without any sort of umbrella, or you shouldn't go in with an umbrella, but you don't need to go in, I should say, with a poncho. Should be in pretty good shape. Should be dry by then. But make sure you've got a periwinkle or purple sweater on, because it will be quite cool. Temperatures falling into the 40s by 7 p.m. Cameron, our favorite Cameron, he says 2 videos today. Yeah, one was the winter forecast this morning. Brian almost exclusively just looked at the long range stuff. You can go back and look at that either on our YouTube channel or our Wave Weather Facebook page. And of course, I've got the video detailing sort of the shorter range of our weather here. So we're just kind of doing the handoff, if you will, between two types of live streams today. Mine's going to be short, by the way. I'll be done here by about 4:15 Eastern time this evening, just to get a few other things done. By the way, after this rain on Sunday, we'll be in pretty good shape. But Monday morning, with a wet ground and clear sky, we may pick up some light fog in places. We'll keep an eye on that Monday morning. Should be out of here by Monday afternoon. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get to more of your questions and the long-range forecast that includes some storm chances right after this quick 60-second break. All right. We are right back here. We're talking about what's going to be happening as we go throughout next week here, and that is the full beaver moon on Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. You should be able to see it because we'll have mainly clear skies during that time. Moonrise is 6:32 on Tuesday. Moon set 7:01 Wednesday. That fullest point is actually when the moon is below the horizon. Boo, 8:19 a.m. Wednesday. So again, that's Tuesday night. The full beaver moon is in the sky. And then we're milder next week as a kind of bubble of high pressure moves into the Gulf. And as that happens, it pushes that cooler air up to our north and pushes warmer air in our area. How about 69 for a high on Wednesday? That's going to be very therapeutic to have temperatures that warm. Before I get to our two storm systems for the next week time frame, I do want to address a few questions. Blue is asking, what is a beaver moon? That's just a name. Often these names come from Celtic, Anglo-Saxon, or Native American tradition. We typically have the ones that are Native American tradition kind of in our list because that's what most people call it there. So it's just a name. It's nothing more than that. I think it's a supermoon, a little closer to the Earth than usual because of lunar perigee, which is because the orbit of the moon around the Earth is not a perfect circle. It's an ellipse, and at times there are full moons when the moon is a little closer to the Earth because of how stretched out that orbit is. So it's like 7% larger. You really can't tell with your naked eye that it's any bigger there. Got another question here. Tina says, the weather has made it hard on me to get everything done. I need it to stop raining. Balancing, relocating, and a death. Oh, I'm so sorry, Tina. And I still have tons of stuff to get done. I know it's been inconvenient to say the least. Thankfully, after tonight, you've got a pretty good stretch of dry time next week. Cameron's asking about El Nino and La Nina. I couldn't ask it during Brian's live stream earlier today. People wonder, just because we're seeing a La Nina or an El Nino pattern, couldn't something that correlates to El Nino happen during La Nina and be completely opposite? Yeah, El Nino and La Nina are not the end-all be-all of what controls our weather during the winter, right? It's a big factor, and it's a big factor in the severe weather season in the spring too, by the way. But you've got things like sea ice going on. You've got other oscillations that are playing into it. You've got the Mad Julian oscillation. You got the NAO, the PNO, the AO. There's so much going on. What the La Nina and El Nino situation is it's basically just the temperature of the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Peru. That's it. It's that cut and dry, right? When it's below normal, it's La Nina. When it's above normal or warmer than usual, it's El Nino. La Nina typically amps up our winters around here. That's why our winter forecast was pretty amped up and very similar to what we had last winter. In fact, we knew this months ago, funny enough, that it would probably end up being that our winter forecast would be like the last winter. And now that we have even more data to confirm that, it makes us feel pretty good that this is a pretty good grasp of what this upcoming winter is going to be. So there's a lot that goes on. It's not just La Nina, it's not just El Nino, but you can oftentimes get at least a general sense of a winter by looking at both of those, because they influence the atmosphere in the northern hemisphere so very heavily, and they really help with the upper air pattern and forcing the polar jet stream to take a little visit to the Louisville area, not only making us cold, but also giving us snow chances. I hope that answers your question. This is a very complex thing to explain without a little bit more preparation here. Joe is saying, did the growing season officially end during our most recent stretch of cold mornings? Yes and no. Yes, officially, because the UK, or University of Kentucky Ag Extension Office, said it's going to end November 1st. But not entirely, just because I still have tomatoes growing in my backyard, and some areas in Jefferson County haven't really seen a good frost yet, so some of those plants are still growing. So officially, yes. Unofficially, not exactly. But it's one of those weird things where eventually everybody's growing season will end. It's not this homogenous thing, right? It's really tough to make that call. So it's ended, but if you're kind of close to or inside the Waterston Expressway, your plants may still be growing. It's interesting. Let's see. Crispy Brisket says, does a repeat winter mean more likely a repeat spring? Maybe, but we'll see. How fast do we get out of La Nina? Do we get out of La Nina by next spring? Those are going to be big factors, all right? It would seem logically that we would have the same spring next spring, which was not good for us because the last one was full of severe weather, chock full, and flooding too. I'm not going to make that call just yet. That's just a little too far out. We need to see how things unfold through November and December, and I think we'll get a better sense of that closer to Christmas time. We'll see. How much snow are we receiving this year? ZK says, our forecast, I believe, is between 15 and 25 inches. Our normal is somewhere near a foot, so this will be an above normal snow winter for us based on our forecast. All right, hope that clears up some of your questions here this evening. Let's go into this double storm system feature for late next week here, all right? This is kind of a newer thing that we're really starting to hone in on today. Brian touched on it this morning. I want to dive into it just a little bit deeper here. What I've got plotted here is an area of low pressure moving through Lake Superior. It's dragging a cold front through here. The red that you see is thunderstorm energy. The green is, of course, rain. Wherever those match up, which is pretty close to here in Louisville, you would have thunderstorms, right? Bada bing, bada boom, easy. Will these storms be strong? Maybe. Possibly. We'll see. There's a lot that has to happen between now and Friday to really get a better handle on that. And oftentimes the data does not do a good job of sensing how much instability we'll have in a setup like this until we get closer to time. It has been hundreds of times, literally, that a week out, it's like, maybe there's a stronger storm. And then like 3 days out, you're like, oh, there's a severe weather risk, right? So we don't want to judge this too early. So when we get closer to time, we'll let you know a little bit more about this. There is some wind energy with this. So if we were to get enough instability, that could be a problem. And then there's a second storm system that would be even stronger Saturday. So this is a 1-2 punch, a Friday, then a Saturday storm system here. Thunderstorms again here, stronger because the area of low pressure would be stronger and there would be cooler air than the first one on the backside. We'd actually see a palpable difference in that air temperature between Saturday and Sunday with this system, whereas between Friday and Saturday, it actually gets a little warmer because that front gets taken over by warm air advection with a warm front so quickly on the backside of it here. So this is a stronger storm system for Saturday. Doesn't necessarily mean it produces severe weather, just means it's something we're watching. Do want to look at a couple of things. One is, of course, the augmented, or I should say the artificial intelligence, the AI machine learning data for severe weather, and two, the analog data for severe weather. These are the two things we're looking at. What you're seeing right here, and I'm going to take this full screen. This is day 7 and day 8. That means Friday, that means Saturday. Day 7, Friday, day 8, Saturday. Boom. On the very right, Storm Prediction Center's outlooks on both of those days. They've got nothing yet because it's way too early and this is kind of marginal. In the middle, those are the AI outlooks, and on the left, those are the analog outlooks. So for Saturday, that second system, it basically has nothing for all of this data. However, for the first system on Friday, as we zoom in here, you'll note that it does have both the analog data right here and the AI data right here, areas where you could have some stronger storms. The analog data on your left in yellow, that's showing the Paducah area. The AI data pinpoints Columbus, Ohio, but does have some strong storm potential in our area too. Analogs, by the way, are just looking at old events that are very similar to see what future results may be from a similar system. AI is using more of a machine learning to not only look at the analogs, but a whole lot of other variables too. The AI stuff I have seen lately has been more accurate than the analogs. It's more advanced, more data. They're constantly refining it, and it's getting better day by day here. So that's what we're looking at. Both the analogs and the AI data have at least a small severe weather chance on Friday night, Friday afternoon. We'll see what the timing is. We don't know that quite yet. So keep that in mind. It's small. It's not impressive yet, but that could grow over time or it could fade away. We'll see how that works out. All depends on the timing, how much instability is available, how much heating we get. There's so many factors at 6 days out that we technically 7 on this graphic here, but really it's 6 days out, that we don't want to prejudge this too hard just yet. A couple more questions. We'll go through them. We'll show the 10-day and get offline here. Let's see here. Shonda says, what was the tornado count in the area for the year? Ooh, I do not know that. I know it was decent for our area. It was more than usual. I can at least put some money on saying that. I don't have those stats in front of me, though. How much snow? We've talked about that, 15 to 25 inches. ZK is asking, will it become below 0 anytime this winter? I don't know. Last winter, we didn't do that, and we had a ton of snow. And last winter, as Brian Good alluded to this morning, was actually slightly above average on temperature. You can have an above average temperature winter and tons of snow. Those things are not mutually exclusive, right? Because an above average winter can be like by 0.1 or 1 degree above average, and you can still have several snow events, but the overall average of temperature would be above average, right? So it's kind of misleading. Like, oh, it was 1 degree above normal this winter, but then you had a ton of snow, right? Those two things really aren't necessarily related. And one thing to keep in mind too is that if it gets too cold, it's hard to get snow because it pushes all those storm systems down across the Gulf Coast states, right? So you actually want it to be normal, maybe even just a slight bit above normal to get that maximum snow load here. And that's kind of what we did in January of this past year here when we got both of those crazy snow systems through here that dumped well more than a foot across just about our entire area. So keep that in mind here. Don't know about below 0, but with our forecast being slightly above normal, there may be a lower than usual chance of that unless we just get absolutely bombed with a super heavy snow and it plunges our temperatures below 0. That can happen, but that's kind of like a very isolated thing that you really can't see until you've got the snow kind of falling in your neighborhood here. Clayton's like, come on, I need a warm week next week. Yes, you're going to get that. Jay is saying thank you. Thank you, Jay, for watching. You are so welcome. All right, let's get you to the 10-day earliest alert here, because that's probably what a lot of you are here to see. This will kind of put a bow on everything here, a fine point on what we've just discussed here. By the way, if you're just joining us, don't forget to turn back your clock an hour tonight before bed. Daylight saving time is still a thing, and it ends tonight. We get an extra hour of sleep tonight. Huzzah. We start to warm up next week. The warmest is Wednesday at 69, may push 70, and then those two storm systems are here Friday and Saturday, one after another. These are two separate systems that will hit back to back. It's usually hard to get two rounds of severe weather back to back like that. So my bet, if I'm at this point to look at this setup, just knowing that, is that Friday could have a few strong storms. Saturday could too, but maybe lesser of a chance. We'll see, just because it would be the atmosphere trying to recover from Friday. But if there's a ton of warm air that gets pushed in here, and you see that 72 on Saturday, that could negate that. So there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about that storm system next week. We don't have certainty on that. It is just too far out in time. Bradley's asking about the threats with these storm systems next week. If we were to see severe weather, it'd be mainly wind, hail, and possibly an isolated tornado. But again, it is way too early to say if any of that is actually going to happen. All right, so no need to stress about that yet. I'm not stressed about it. You shouldn't be either. It is too far out in advance here. ZK says, thank you for answering my questions. You're very welcome, ZK. And Crispy Brisket also says thank you. You guys are so welcome. I am happy that you all have been able to join me this evening here on Wave Weather Now. By the way, just a reminder, Wave Weather Now is a 24/7 thing. It's not just when I'm on here on Facebook or Twitch or YouTube. It is a 24/7 live stream where you can see these broadcasts and a 24/7 10-minute long loop of updated live graphics that are super helpful for travel, radar, severe weather, easy weather, seasonal weather, and we've got those Wave E alerts that pop up on the bottom of the screen, and you can now see a list of them. By the way, you can see the list of the latest Wave E alerts right here. Boom, you can see all of our Wave E alerts that we've had here in the last little bit, including from our weather app and from the National Weather Service. You can see the high today in Louisville was 58 degrees. Those climate reports come out every day at 4 p.m. and again around 8 p.m. So really handy to have those wavy alerts on Wave Weather Now. You can watch Wave Weather Now on wave3.com/weather now, the Wave Weather app, or of course the Wave Now app for your smart TV. That's Amazon Fire, that's Apple TV, and that's Roku TV. I remembered all of them. How about them apples? All right, guys, that's it for this evening. I will see you back here on Wave News at 11. Again, there's no 6 p.m. newscast tonight due to sports on NBC. That's why I wanted to get on here early, get out ahead of that, and tell you, like, hey, I've got your weather right here on our live stream. If you're watching us on the Wave Weather app, thank you so much. If you're watching us on social media, thanks for interacting with me this evening. And, of course, we will see you back here on Wave Weather Now around 11:15 this evening when my 11 p.m. weathercast hits it there on the stream. All right, everybody, we'll see you back here then. Good night.